Hey there everybody, welcome to Mbagza Tech Made Simple. This is Mbagza going in. So welcome to today's session. In today's session I have about few lessons that I have to do, but then I'll upload each video for each question. So let's go ahead and start by, there you can see we have our tutorials. We just have a few problems nyana to go through. So we have simple hello world, how to multiply two floating numbers. So this one of hello world and multiplying two floating numbers, I think I've covered them in I covered them. I have two other videos of how to run hello world and how to make a simple calculator, so they are covered already. So we're gonna be focusing on the one of write a C++ program to swap two integer values inputted by the user. So the user is going to input two values there. So what I do before I write a program, I like analyzing what my program wants. So let me go ahead and put it here, my program. So as you can see, it's saying write a program to swap two int values inputted by the user. So when I analyze my problem, I start by asking myself, okay, what does the program want? It wants me to swap. What is to swap? Swapping. For example, you are taking something that's on your right hand to your left hand, but then also in your left hand there's something already. So meaning you are just swapping those two things. You have something in your left hand or also in your right hand, then you are swapping them. So but then the values, those values must be inputted by the user. So meaning that your program must prompt the user to input two values. So we can go ahead and go to the program, to code blocks and start writing. So we'll just simply start by declaring two integers, since it wants to swap two integer values. So we'll simply say int number 1, and also we must have number 2. Let's just say int number 1 comma and then number 2, just to avoid writing declaring a lot of times. So this is the same as writing int num1 semicolon and then int num2 semicolon. So this is just kind of a shortest way of doing it. So okay, since you can see our program is simply asking us to swap, let me put this always on top. Okay, our program is simply asking us to swap two inputted values. So first thing that we have to do, we must prompt the user to input two values, those two values. So we can simply come and say cout inside the strings we can say enter your integer. Okay, let me say enter your first number, your first integer. Let me say enter your first integer, then below I will say cin and then you are inputting number 1, num1. So we are inputting the num1 there. So let me just copy this and paste it and okay, we'll just have to change num1 to num2 and also go and change first to second there. So we can build this and test run it just to see what it does. Okay, enter your first integer 5, enter a second integer. So already we have completed how to inputting the two numbers. The user can input two numbers now, the two integers. So now we're just left with what do you call this? We're just left with swapping the two integer values. So this one I'm just making it just to make my code look good. Entire first integer, there you can see now it looks better. 5 and 7. So we're not done here. We're still going far. We still have the tricky part. So we have managed to input two values in the program. So now we're only left with swap. The swapping process. So the swapping process, let me try and explain it just a little bit. For example, if you are having, okay, so here the trick is only in the part of swapping your two values. So when you swap your two values, for example, if you are having two different items in both your hands, the left hand and the right hand, they are both occupied by something. So for you, in order to take the item that is on your left hand to your right hand, you cannot, since the right hand is occupied. So you must put one down, and then you can swap and then take the one that is down and take it to your hand. So yeah, I hope you got my example. Show it practically with a code. So I will come and introduce a temporary variable which is called temp. Let me just come and introduce it. You can introduce it below here, or just declare it right after number 2 and say temporary variable. So this temporary variable, it is going to work as in my example, I can say it's going to work as a table where you're going to put your items so that you can swap the items in your two hands. So we can say temp is equal to number 1. So by saying temp is equal to number 1, we're simply in my example, when I go back to my example, temp is equal to number 1, we're simply if we have items in our two hands, we're simply putting one item down. Let's say the one on the left hand is number 1 and the one on the right hand is number 2. By saying temp is equal to number 1, I'm simply saying I'm putting the item on my left hand on top of the table. The table is my temporary variable, and then my left hand is my number 1. So I'm going to say, then below here I'm going to say number 1 is equal to number 2. This is the process of swapping now. My number 1 is going to number 2 because my number 1 is no longer occupied. I've put it on temp, which is a table in my example. So now my number 1 is my number 2. So meaning I've taken the item on the right hand to to my left hand. So now we have below that I'm going to write number 2 is equal to temp, meaning that my item on the table there, which is temp, my item on the table, which is temp, I'm going to take it to my right hand now. Since I've taken the item, I've put down my item on the table, one item on the table, and then I'm left with one item on my hands, and then I take the one that is left on my hand and put it on my other hand, and then I take the one on the table with the hand that is no longer occupied. So I hope you get my example very well. Now after doing these 3 steps, which are the most important ones, you're going to say cout after swapping, and then put them in strings. And close after swapping, cout num1, put end line just after swapping. Just after swapping. Okay, and then let me say cout num1 is equal to, let me put it in strings since it's a string, num1 is equal to num1. There you can see, you will see, let me build and run. Enter a first integer 5, enter a second integer 2. Now after swapping, num1 is equal to 2, but then our num1 was 5 at first. Our num1 so there we go. We have swapped two integer values that were inputted by the user. Now we can also output again the number 2 just to show value that they have been swapped. So we can build and run, enter a first integer, let me say 1, and then let me say 2 after swap. Okay, it's 21. Okay, let me change this mistake first. Let me put end line there. There we go. And then let me build and run, and then enter first integer, second integer 1 2. There you can see number 1 is 2, and then the other one is 1. So they have swapped. So the only tricky part is on those 3 steps there, that you have to say temp equal to num1 is equal to num2, then num2 is equal to temp. So always remember my example of you are having 2 items in your hands and you wanna swap them. You wanna take the one on your left hand to the right hand and the one on your right hand to the left hand. So you will need a table or a floor or anything that you can store the other item first so that you can swap. Thank you very much for tuning in on today's lesson. Let's meet again on the next session. Thank you very much.